Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Justin, Kenny, Mac, Josh, and myself here tonight, and the Browns have a brand new head coach. I know Josh has dropped some of his thoughts and stuff since the hiring of Todd Monken. This is the first time the four of us have been able to get together, kind of talk it out between the four of us, talk with you guys in the chat, kind of see how we're all feeling about the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns. So I'm excited to get into this one. I think it's going to be a fun one. I think there's thoughts on like both ends of the spectrum on how you should feel about this. And maybe a little bit about the process and maybe how we got here. So I think it's going to be a fun one. I'm excited to get into all of it with you guys. If you want to get intros and voicemails on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail. If you are watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure to tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content we're putting out. You can listen on Apple and Spotify. You can find us on any of the social media platforms. Just search at the Dogs Podcast. And if you're looking for more Dogs content, head to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. You get access to the private Discord. You get to play fantasy football with us when that time comes around. You just get to be a part of a really cool online Browns community. We've added, I feel like we're adding five people a day lately for like the last week. It's crazy how many people have jumped in there. And as soon as you jump in, you're just going to get hit with a million hellos, and then it's like you've been there forever. It's just, and we're discussing everything, man. Especially like this is a super hot topic time of the year with the coaching search, and now we got free agency and draft stuff to talk about. The coaching staff Monken's putting together. So this is a good time to be in there. So if you want the extra content, you want to hang out with, honestly, the four of us, we're in there all the time, plus a ton of other great people. It's jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member. So let's dive into this here. It took 24 days. The Browns finally got a new head coach, and they went with the guy that is the very first person they interviewed. And I just kind of want to go around here and just get some quick thoughts before we maybe start, get into the chat or whatever. So I'll just go to Justin because you're the upper right here. Justin, what was your immediate thoughts when you saw the Browns hired Monken?
Honestly, frustration. Just if we're gonna be 100% honest, first thought, I just went, man, I can't believe that I just endured this 24-day chaotic search. It felt so dysfunctional. It didn't feel good at all. Every time I felt like there was a little bit of optimism, it kind of got flipped on us. In the moment, I was just like, man, I can't believe this is how we're coming away from it. I mean, obviously the offensive part is good, but to say that underwhelmed was very fair.
No, I'll give you all my thoughts at first too, but I'll let the rest of the room speak. Kenny, what about you?
Dude, I was like, stay away. That's what I was saying right from the get-go. And then I'll be honest with you, in the Discord, we get together and sometimes we have a Discord hangout. And I was with Brad Moneymaker, so with Aaron Watts, and we were talking. They were like, they wanted my boomer impression of who was going to be. And I just said, you know what? I don't think it's going to be Schwartz. I think it's going to be Todd Monken. And you know what they said? Go F yourself. Yeah, right. Whatever. And then it came to fruition. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't mad. I was definitely disappointed. But I think when I looked up, and we'll probably get into it, I looked up how he did offensively. And then based on what Jimmy said, where he was looking for intelligence, decision-making acumen, leadership, and high EQ, I looked at what this guy did in some of his press conferences. This guy's hilarious. I think he was almost like Jarvis Landry for me. Like I almost wanted to run through a wall. So right now, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Well, that's good. What about you, Josh?
Yep, I was, when it first came out, mad. Like the guy that I discarded throughout the whole process of like, yeah, he's on the list, but I'm not even looking at his name because I don't know if that's just like a selfish thing. Me personally, obviously, I had my candidates that I had my eye on, and I was heavily invested into those guys and wanting them to be the next head coach of the Browns that I didn't really consider Todd Monken actually potentially getting this job for real. So when it happened, obviously I was disappointed, but we'll talk about it here, Blake. I would definitely want to hear your thoughts on how this week has gone, but I feel like I'm coming around to it. I'm definitely open to giving him the opportunity. I said this on the show the other day. As soon as you're a Brown, I will root for you. I will root for you to succeed until you give me a reason not to. And then at that point, I'm done. I'm off your train. But right now, let's roll. Todd Monken. We'll see how it goes.
No, when it first happened, so I feel like if you watch this show, you probably know how I felt about like all of this heading into a coaching search. Well, first of all, when they first announced Todd Monken, I felt very vindicated because I said I tried to tell everybody that you were going to get the leftover scraps of everybody else if you fired Kevin. And I was like, look how right I was. We got the guy who was 15th on our list and who wasn't even on anybody else's list. There's a few things I like being more than right. So I was happy about that. But then you start to like see some of the things like we kind of just went over briefly. The guy's put good offenses on the field pretty much anywhere he's ever been. Even the 1 year he was in Cleveland, we had a 3,500-yard passer, a 1,500-yard rusher, and 2 1,000-yard receivers. And that was with Freddie Kitchens just like changing the game plan every other day. You know what I mean? So the guys put good offenses on the field. I think my biggest issue at first was it just felt like the process. Like, how did we – everybody was so enamored with guys like Grant Udinski and Nate Scheelhaase to be our head coach. And I think they were just extremely let down when we landed on like what is he, 59 years old or 60 years old, something like that, guy that nobody really had on their radar. And everybody just assumed that if we fired Kevin – we're going to go get the next Sean McVay. We're going to go hire this next 30-year-old. Well, first of all, I don't think you should base your plan on trying to find the next McVay. He's an outlier. You know, that's like saying we're only going to draft players we're only getting the next LeBron. If you're not the next LeBron, we're getting rid of you. Well, the next LeBron comes around once every 30, 40 years. There might not be another Sean McVay ever. Like how many 30-year-olds are ready to be a head coach? You know what I mean? Like it takes a special breed of individual. I kind of got okay with Grant Udinski because at least he was an offensive coordinator. At least in my opinion, Nate Scheelhaase was never a realistic option to be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. You just do not go from offensive or passing game coordinator to head coach. To me, that had Freddie Kitchens written all over it. And I think the Browns the Browns waited and they went and interviewed him out in LA and they did this crazy long interview and then they didn't offer him the job. I think that tells you a lot about like he wasn't ready. You know what I mean? And we aren't the only people to interview him and not give him a job. So I think so many people thought it was going to be Grant and they just had their eyes set on this like new shiny toy that was going to be the head coach of the Browns. So when it ended up being Todd Monken, everybody was just super deflated. I think if you were realistic about the Browns search though, did we maybe get the best offensive head coach that would actually come to Cleveland? Maybe. Because like we weren't getting John Harbaugh, and he's not an offensive coach anyways, but we're not getting John Harbaugh. Sean McDermott's probably taking a year off. Mike McDaniel would rather go be an offensive coordinator than, come be the head coach of the Browns. Like those are three names that would have been at the top of my list probably. You weren't getting any of them. So then is Todd Monken potentially the most experienced offensive-minded guy that you were going to be able to get here? Maybe we got the best guy that was available to us. Now that can say a lot about where you are at as an organization and how people viewed this job. But at the end of the day, you got the best available guy to you, because I don't think we were picking from all these coaches that were available. There was 5 of them were not available to us. You know what I mean? Like
you got to think how much of it was just. You got to think of how much of it too was just like ignorance. You just passed it off as number one, he was going to go to the Giants and be their offensive coordinator. Number 2, there's just a thing about fans where we go, well, he's a Raven. We don't want no Ravens around here. Well, guess what? We got a whole bunch of them coming right now because they all want to work with Todd Monken. A lot of position coaches, right? And I find with him, if you dial everything back, and I've said this numerous times on the podcast, you actually listen to what Jimmy said, what I mentioned earlier between the emotional intelligence, the leader traits. I can tell you, I was 100% ignorant on it, man. I did not realize, like with some of his speeches and some of the things that I've seen online on YouTube, how passionate he was. You can tell the leadership in the way he speaks. You can see the way the players respond to him. You know, that you can't make that stuff up. The camera's just picking it up, right? And again, like, the coach is only going to be as good as the talent is around him. And right now you can say he's going to have a real tough time, right? So the next, 96 days of this reset or wherever we are in it is going to be telling how this guy's going to be successful.
This episode is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Browns fans, I know I can't be the only one. Have you ever searched something random like, I don't know, how to make French toast, and suddenly you're getting ads for all kinds of different recipes? Yeah, me too. It's a bit scary how much the internet seems to know about me these days. Thankfully, today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, can help us out with that. A VPN is a virtual private network which allows me to mask my real IP address. It's like putting a guardian cap on my online data, essentially meaning that my activity online is safe and no longer being tracked. Ever wonder just how much of your personal identity is floating around online? Every click, every scroll, every late night mock draft that you do, all of it can be logged, tracked, and sold. With Surfshark, all that data stays yours. When I'm connected, Surfshark encrypts everything I do online, so even my internet provider or nosy advertisers can't see what I'm up to. It's like finally being able to shut the blinds on your digital life, total privacy, total control, and honestly, it's a relief knowing I can browse freely without constantly worrying who's watching. And this is a big one for me. Surfshark does not keep logs, like, at all. That means even if someone wanted to see what I've been up to online, there's literally nothing to show them. Most people don't realize this, but some VPNs do keep records of your activity, which kind of defeats the point of privacy, right? Surfshark's strict no logs policy means they don't monitor, track, or store any of your browsing data. It's like wiping your digital footprints clean the second you take a step. I find that so reassuring, knowing that what I do online stays my business and no one else's. And Surfshark has other great products like their antivirus add-on. We tend to think viruses are a laptop problem, but they can hit phones, tablets, anything really. That's why Surfshark Antivirus is such a smart add-on. It's built right into the app and runs quietly in the background, protecting against malware, trojans, and all that nasty stuff that can sneak in from downloads or dodgy sites. I love that I don't need a separate antivirus subscription. Surfshark just handles it. It's one less thing to worry about and one more reason I feel properly covered online. So start protecting your online identity today with Surfshark. You can try it right now with a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to surfshark.com/dogs, DAWGS, or use code DOGS at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Link and code are in the description. Surfshark.com/dogs, code DOGS.
I do think Browns fans are going to love him as a head coach in terms of polar opposites. Like a press conference is not going to be the rinse and repeat coach talk like we were getting from Kevin. And I know, like, that never bothered me. I don't really care what my coach says at the press conference. I'd rather him not be Freddie Kitchens wearing like a Pittsburgh Started It t-shirt. But but like in terms of like what they're actually saying, that kind of thing never bothered me with Kevin. Like, I like a tight-lipped, nothing's getting out kind of coach. That didn't bother me, but I do think a lot of Browns fans are going to like Todd Monken's probably going to be fiery at the mic. He's going to, he might call some people out. He might show a little bit of emotion. So I think Browns fans are actually going to really like him, especially if we show improvement and win some football games. Another thing that made me feel good about it, well, a couple things, but I saw a guy I know the other day, and he's a big-time Ravens fan. He has season tickets for the Ravens, even though he lives in Tuscarawas County. That's how big of a he drives down there for every single home game. And he told me that Todd Monken was the best offensive coordinator Lamar had ever had when he was in Baltimore. He said it was the best offense he ever played in, and that he was hoping that Jesse Minter would bring him back to be his offensive coordinator. So, and he was like, I think the Browns. Like, I think that's a good hire for the Browns. And that's coming from a Ravens fan who doesn't like the Browns, obviously. And then another thing that I immediately started to make me feel better about the hire was we're hiring a whole lot of Ravens coaches.
Yep.
And they might not be household names. Like, I'll say I'm like surface level happy about it because I don't know these guys that well. I didn't know the coaching staff of the Ravens outside of John Harbaugh and Todd Monken, but that's a successful organization. That's an organization that has a lot of winning seasons, won a Super Bowl, played in multiple Super Bowls in the last 30 years. Like that's a coaching staff that's been with a Hall of Fame coach. Everybody wanted Nate Scheelhaus because he was under McVay, and he's from the McVay tree. Well, we got a guy who was underneath a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? So, like, if Nate Schiehaus is learning from Sean McVay, I'm sure Todd Monken is learning how to be a head football coach from a guy who's going to be in the Hall of Fame as soon as he's eligible as a head coach. So, the more we add Ravens coaches to this staff, the more I learn about the offenses he's put together, the demeanor. I do think he kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Jim Schwartz on the offensive side of the ball. You know what I mean? A little bit more fiery, maybe a little bit more in your face. So I kind of like it. There's a couple of reports that came out that are slight red flags, but like Josh said, until he gives me a reason to hold those against him, then I'm not going to hold him against him.
Which ones are you talking about?
Like what the first one that comes to mind is clearly the relationship between him and Lamar deteriorated. And if you can't get along with your MVP quarterback, to me, that kind of sucks. John Harbaugh is a Hall of Fame head coach, and keeping Todd Monken basically got John Harbaugh fired. You know what I mean? So like that, to me, that's a slight red flag. Like an organization was willing to part ways with a guy who'd been there for 2 decades and is going to go to the Hall of Fame as a head coach, and keeping Todd Monken was a sticking point, so they fired him. That's a red flag. Again, I'm not going to hold it against him. Sometimes you just need a change of scenery. You need, he needs to go somewhere else, kind of have a reset. I also don't think Lamar is the easiest guy to get along with someties. So
I think there's two sides to that story, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm not saying like Lamar is, I'm not saying he's like a problem, but I do think there's a personality there that, especially sometimes if you're a little bit of an old school coach, maybe it doesn't mesh that well. Another red flag is I do think the league is going younger, more innovative. And again, I didn't want some passing game coordinator to be our head coach, but we have a really young locker room now. We went from an old locker room to a young locker room in the last year, and it's presumably going to get younger. How is he going to relate to the young players in the locker room? I do think having multiple years of college coaching experience can help with that. Coaching at Georgia, being an offensive coordinator there, he's dealt with young kids. So those are just a couple of the little things that I'm kind of keeping an eye out for to see how he meshes in the locker room personality wise.
No,
go ahead, Justin.
Go ahead, Josh. No, go ahead, brother.
Well, I was going to say a couple other things for me that were red flags early on, which I've gotten more okay with them as the week has gone on, was just he's 60 years old. I think he turned 60 this week. And it's the first time in his entire coaching career that he's ever been given an opportunity to be a head coach at the NFL level. He's only had one head coaching stint for 3 years in college, and it was at Southern Miss. So for me, I was like, man, this guy's been around the league for a long time, and he's just now getting that shot. Outside of Bruce Arians, he is the oldest head coach to ever get his first head coaching gig in NFL history. So it's a little bit of an outlier in that regard too. But then, kind of like Blake said, he's got a lot of experience being an offensive coordinator for several different teams under good head coaches that, I think he's got experience that should help him navigate these waters as a head coach for the first time. So I'm a little more at ease about the age thing and him never being a coach until now and being the only one that, this was the only interview he got this cycle was the Browns. But
another thing too is we all said throw a blank check at John Harbaugh. Okay. Like throw a blank check at him. We want John. Guess who would have been his offensive coordinator if we hired John Harbaugh? It would have been Todd Monken. And John Harbaugh came out and said he tried to talk him out of taking this job so he could have him as an O, because he wanted him. So if we all think John Harbaugh is that good of a head coach and we respect him that much in his opinion, especially of the coaches that are working for his staff, that should tell us something about the guy that we hired to be the head coach. I also think it's telling that a lot of coaches from that staff are coming to Cleveland instead of going to New York.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like, it's clear that he had a good relationship with these guys, and that they think he's going to be a good guy to work for, and they see potential in him to be a head coach. So it's kind of funny because when the very first day this happened, I said, I'm not going to talk myself into being okay with a hire. I'm not going to be like I was with Ken Dorsey and talk myself into being okay with it. But I don't know, maybe it's just the Browns fan in me, but like I'm slowly being like, let's see what happens. The staff thing's a big thing for me. The staff he's putting together, bringing in Ravens coaches, like to me that's a big thing. That's a team that knows how to win. They've been around a lot of winning.
Bro.
The other thing too is that like that guy, he isn't pigeonholed in one kind of offense. Look at, he's had Jameis Winston, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then he went to Baker. Then he went to Stetson Bennett and won 2 national championships with that kid, you know, and then he went to Lamar Jackson. So while you want to say, well, you know, a lot of people want to say this, well, they got Lamar, you know, their running backs were awesome. Their receivers were awesome. Well, yeah, but he didn't suck. He made them good and he made them better. Right. And we got to get there. But I mean, I just love it. And I just love that he coached offenses. I think that's great.
Yep.
So we've kind of circled back a little bit, rewind. So we've kind of come around to the point that I think we're feeling better. Maybe even, are we feeling good?
I'm optimistic, brother. I'll do it. I'll say it. I'm in.
Dude, I just got to see the talent that they get for this guy. That's what I got to see.
Like you said, Kenny, and which was a huge sticking point for me with our last coach, was you're only as good as the talent you have. Yeah. Find me the head coach that looks really good with terrible talent. I bet you can't really name me that many. But if we rewind a little bit, one thing that kind of made this look like a circus and maybe kind of had us all laughing was the fact that at least a lot of reports were that the Browns front office and ownership was telling these potential candidates, we'd really like you to keep Jim Schwartz as your defensive coordinator. We don't know how much it was an option or it was Jim Schwartz is going to be your offensive coordinator, because then people started dropping out. There were reports that some of these potential candidates didn't like that. They wanted to build their own staff. I'm of the side where if ownership wants to say, hey, we'd really appreciate you taking a look at Jim Schwartz and maybe bringing him back because the guys really like playing with him, I'm fine with them saying that. But also, it needs to be clear, like, it's an option. You will not be punished in any way if you don't hire Jim Schwartz and you build guys want to build their own staff, especially a first-time head coach. He wants to put people around him that he knows, that he's comfortable with, that he thinks he can lead and tell what to do and manage, because this is their first opportunity to be a head coach. You can't force the marriage. So, but there were all these reports that Jim Schwartz was kind of being maybe slightly pushed onto whoever we hired to be the head coach. Also reports that Jim Schwartz was very much in the running to be the head coach. And then it turned out we didn't give Jim Schwartz the job. We hired Todd Monken, and we all kind of thought it was because he was the only one who said he'd work with Jim Schwartz. And then Jim Schwartz got so mad that he didn't get the head coaching position that he leaves. Says he's not coming back. And we're just going, talk about a Cleveland Browns thing.
Yeah.
Now, also another thing, once the smoke settles and the dust settles, how much do we care? Do you think Jim Schwartz will be back? We saw before we jumped on here tonight that the Browns have kind of, I think, put together a package offering him a raise, more responsibility in terms of hiring defensive staff, that kind of thing. How do you feel about how the Browns treated that search with Jim Schwartz? How do you feel about him being upset that he didn't get the position? And then how do you feel if he doesn't come back and we end up finding a different defensive coordinator? Go ahead, Justin.
Go ahead, Justin.
All I'll say about it is when that news broke that he stormed out of Berea, I kind of just shook my head and I was like, wasn't that part of the plan? Like, everything that we read was that, obviously he's in the mix for head coach. He's interviewing and stuff like that. But we were almost made to feel like he was okay if they passed him over as long as he was able to retain his defensive responsibilities as a coordinator. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I read that wrong from everybody that reported that. But it's just very, like you said, like very Cleveland Browns kind of dysfunctional. And like when all that's happening, I think it just adds to just kind of how we feel as a fan base. You know what I mean? We're so used to just being pissed on and shit on that we're just like, well, this is just normal for us. Like this is just how we get stuff done. And then we'll do this again in 2 or 3 years if it takes that long. But if we're talking about Jim Schwartz and if he stays, obviously some Browns fans, they have it where they are dead set that, he's done a ton for this team. And obviously he has, he's He's led a great defense. Obviously you're not going to be perfect all the time, but to me, sacrificing your almost perfectly built defense to not improve your dog crap offense that has not improved technique wise, has not improved skill wise. We always talk about development, right? Is Andrew Berry drafting the right guys, but why is it not development? Why the technique's bad, blah, blah, blah. All these coaches that are coming over, it's always technique, dedication. Are you doing the right things every time? Blah, blah, blah. That's accountability. That's all we've yelled for years. I feel like just that when it's bad, we just want some accountability. We want it to look different the next week. And we kind of always feel the same way about it. I'm not saying that bringing in this staff is going to completely flip this roster in, 6 months. I'm not. But damn, you got to feel better about the future as a Browns fan. I mean, we were heading into dark days where we were like, we might not win many games for the next 10 years, but we're not going anywhere. So I think this is the best outcome right now as a fan base for us.
Dude, I think if you put the definition of dysfunction down, it's where emotion replaces structure, reaction replaces leadership. This is exactly opposite of what Jimmy wanted with decision-making acumen, leadership, emotional intelligence, professionalism. Those 4 things I just mentioned, Jim Schwartz took a gas can, dumped it all over, and threw a Zippo lighter on it and blew it up. He didn't give a shit. And I was like, you know what, dude? I don't want any part of this dysfunction either. You were a big part of it. Kick rocks somewhere else and get the hell out. That's what I think. See you later. This defense is good enough. Get, I don't know what guy comes to mind right now. Anthony Weaver. He was here before with the defensive line. He's a predominant defensive corner. Get him. Get Jerome Henderson. Get anybody. But I can't have guys doing exactly the opposite of what Jimmy just said he didn't want anymore, right? You can think of what you want about Jimmy Haslam previous to what him saying that. If this is a restart and then you restart and you bring him back, well, then you're in the same shit.
Just to touch on what Kenny's talking about too, at times over the past few seasons, it's felt like we've had 3 different teams. You've got the offense, the defense, and the special teams all talking crap about each other, what they're doing, or, hey, man, I wish we would have, got, tired at the end, but we were on the field the whole game. Offense, hopefully they do better next week. I'm just excited for just a little bit of accountability. I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you guys know on this show for months into the season, I was saying fire everybody, which included Jim Schwartz. I had no problem with them if they cut bait with everybody on the staff at that point. So obviously, if he walks and we don't have him anymore, it kind of sucks because what he's done here has been great. But at the same time, we've won 8 games in the last 2 years and he's been here. So it's not like he's that much of a difference maker. I know the defense is good. Don't hear what I'm not saying, people. I get it. But like Mama Tendo in the chat here says, on the other hand, could somebody else come in here and get maybe more out of the defense on the road? Because they suck on the road, or they suck when they play the Titans, or they suck when they play the Jets, and you can't stop Breece Hall on a 40-yard screen pass. There are things about this defense that I'm not going to miss if he walks.
Listen, I'm early on this stuff sometimes. I've been saying almost the entire season that our defense is kind of front runners. With the same stuff that hurt us this year is the same stuff that hurt us in year 1 with Jim Schwartz. We play this wide 9, and if we don't have a lead, that we just get gashed in the run game up the middle. If we play on the road and we don't have a crowd behind us, we're not good. We're not good at sudden change. As soon as the offense looks like they're going to be anemic, the defense just mails it in. And not every game, but the problem is I watched some actual dominant defenses, especially in this postseason, like the Broncos, the Patriots, the Seahawks, a team that didn't make the playoffs, the Vikings defense, teams, you know what I mean? And then I watched the Browns give up 30 to the Titans. I watched the Browns give up an 80-yard touchdown drive to the Vikings. The Browns won 5 games, and if the defense that everybody loved just stops Carson Wentz on an 80-yard minute 50 drive in London, that's a 6th win. And if they don't give up 31 points to the Titans, that's a 7th win. And this is I've been saying all season that the defense gets a pass because of how bad the offense is, but the defense is not elite. And so I'm not going to be mad if he goes. And I won't be mad if he stays, but I think there's guys and there's schemes that we could play with this talent that would be better. Of course this defense should be good. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Do we think Jim Schwartz is so, like, if the talent level on our defense was the same as what it was on our offense, would we all be talking about we can't afford to lose Jim Schwartz? No. Yeah. The defense would suck. Sure. Of course the defense is good. It has the best player in the National Football League on it. Okay? It has a top 5 corner. It has the defensive rookie of the year at linebacker. It has a top 5 pick on the D line. Yeah, like, of course the defense is good. All the money, I guess not, technically the offense is extremely high paid because of one player, but a majority of the money is on that side of the ball. All of the high-end draft picks are on that side of the ball. Do we think he would have been good if the talent was? No. So in the same breath, I can understand why Jim Schwartz would be mad and want to leave. If I'm at my job and I get passed over for promotion, and then the guy who they picked over me, I would maybe have to kind of train because he's never been a head coach before, and this guy's going to come to me for advice and ask me things. I'm not doing that. I'm like, nope, you got picked. You go do the job. You know what I mean? You're the guy they wanted, so go do it. I'm just going to do my job. So I can completely understand. I have no ill will toward Jim Schwartz for being upset that he got passed over, and I have zero ill will toward the Browns to not giving him the job and us having to move on from him and finding a different defensive coordinator. As long as you don't get Joe Woods, this defense should be fine. And unlike the offense, there will be good defensive coordinators or up-and-coming defensive coordinators that will be chomping at the bit to coach Myles Garrett, Mason Graham, Carson Schweschinger, potentially J.O.K., Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson coming back, Grant Delpit. Like, there are guys who will be chomping at the bit to come here and be defensive coordinator. So, to me, that's not a big deal.
Well, we didn't want Jim Schwartz as the head coach anyway. I don't think anybody on this show. And we didn't want a defensive head coach, period, I don't believe. And
I would have said, if a Harbaugh or a McDermott, okay.
Okay.
Outside of that.
One of those rare exceptions to the rule. But, we've gotten a little bit of insight, not a ton, but a little insight as to what the interview process was like. And there was the 6, part questionnaire that these guys had to write some answers to and everything for these interviews. One of the questions specifically asked, how would you develop Shedeur Sanders? I bet Jim Schwartz didn't have the best answer to that. I bet Todd Monken's answer was way better. And if you ask anybody, like, developing your quarterback, that's going to trump anything that you can do with the defense because that matters. Again, we had a very good defense with Jim Schwartz for the last 2 years, and we won 8 games.
The offense was the focal point of this whole coaching search, right? So unless Andy Reid was going to be his offensive coordinator, I don't know how he wins this. I don't know how he thinks he wins it. I don't know how he clears out his offices and says, F you, I'm out of here. He clearly lost. Just take it like a man and say, hey, you know what? I don't think I can be here anymore. And he'll be let out of his contract. It's just, it was dysfunctional the way he did it. And that's what I was getting at. And that's what they're trying to clear up.
2 things before I forget. Well, I might have already forgot one, but there's a comment here from Junkyard Justin that says, Monken seems to have some of that Kurt Signetti to him. And I'm not going to lie, I texted that to somebody earlier this week. It kind of reminds like a guy who has just kind of been paying his dues, working his way up, just putting in time, learning, and then he finally gets his break late. And then obviously, you know what I mean? Like in a little bit of a swagger, like kind of like an old school swagger to him in terms of like you might not believe in me, but I believe in me kind of thing. I literally texted that exact same thing to somebody. I was like, it kind of reminds me of Kurt Signetti a little bit. Hopefully we get the same kind of results. So we'll see. Go ahead, Justin.
Doesn't he fit the bill though too for like Cleveland, like blue collar wise? Like they did that. He's like 30 years, it's all for this. We've been working for this, blah, blah. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm like watching and I'm straight up rooting for the guy. I'm like, hell yeah, brother. Let's go. Let's make year 31 really great and let's go kick this thing. Let's go, bro.
This guy,
let's go.
There's no social media. There's no prettying it up for the kid. Like he gets off the plane. They got the video, right? He's walking into the facility in Berea. He's coming in like these old man jeans. He's just got like a sport coat thrown over like a white t-shirt essentially. He's just walking in and he's not looking. Then he looks at the camera. He's like, hi, and keeps going.
That's why I saw my thing. It was like, if you saw this guy's fit, you know he's just all about football.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Like his jacket's too big, his pants are too big. Like
he's not about style. Nope, does not care.
So that's what I'm saying. Like he kind of has like I think Cleveland's gonna really latch on to him. We'd latch on to anybody. I mean, hell, if they win games, you know what I mean. But I really think Cleveland. I think Browns fans are going to like him. I think he's got a little bit of an edge to him that like they can relate to. So I think that's good. The last thing before we take a quick break, we were talking about how developing Shedeur is important. Even I know he has obviously a huge fan base and ton of haters. The quickest way for the Cleveland Browns to be good is if Shedeur Sanders is good.
Yeah.
That is the quickest way for this to be a quick turnaround, because then you can add weapons around him. You're paying your quarterback on a rookie salary. You already have a good defense. You have everything in place. And now hopefully maybe the offense is spruced up. You should want, if you're a fan of the Browns, you should want Todd Monken to be able to turn Shedeur Sanders into a very good starting quarterback. That is the quickest way for the Browns to turn it around and be competitive again. To anybody who would be rooting against Shedeur, you're not a Browns fan.
I can tell you, watching that video of him and Shedeur interaction, man, put a lot of my insecurities about quarterback or what we're going to do or what even our approach is moving into this year. I felt a lot better watching that interaction and just kind of them laughing and him kind of, jabbing at him about the Baltimore draft stuff. I'm excited. Like, to me, that goes, hey, there's our quarterback. There's our head coach. Start development. Let's go.
I mean, when your coach is like, hey, man, we tried to draft your ass last year. And then I didn't realize this before people started talking to me about it, but he tried to recruit Shedeur Sanders to Georgia when he was there. So there's a history there. It's not like he sees the potential with Shedeur now and he's like, oh, yeah, I think I can coach this. He's seen it a long time ago. It's been years in the making that he thought Shedeur Sanders had something worth investing in. So I think that's really, really positive for the Browns.
All right. Do we want to take a quick commercial and then we'll come back and get to these voicemails?
Yes, let's do that. We'll be right back. This episode is partnered with Kalshi. Browns fans, are you ready to put your money where your predictions are? With Kalshi, America's #1 regulated prediction market, you can legally trade on events that actually matter to you. And the best part is you don't need to predict specific stat lines and compile a 7-leg parlay just to win big. With Kalshi, the objective is either yes or no. Will Shedeur Sanders be the Browns' Week 1 starting quarterback? Will the Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl? Will Fernando Mendoza be the first overall pick in the NFL draft? And in other sports, will the Cavs make the NBA playoffs? You can put your money on these predictions and more with Kalshi. If you want to try it out, Kalshi is giving $10 to anyone who signs up at kalshi.com/dogs and trades $100. Get away from disadvantageous sports books and dive into real world outcomes with real-time odds and real payouts. Head over to Kalshi, KALSHI.com/dogs, DAWGS, or just click the link in the description to get $10 when you trade $100 with Kalshi. Because why shouldn't you get paid for being right?
Since 1989, Mount Hope Fence has set the standard in outdoor living. From decks and railings to fences and patios, we've got you covered. Our lineup features top brands like TimberTech, AlumaGuard, Preferred Railing, and Unilock, along with our own premium Duralux vinyl products. For over 30 years, we've partnered with contractors ensuring reliable job site delivery. Discover quality and excellence in all things outdoors with Mount Hope Fence.
Hey, Blake,
Welcome
can I
back.
Can I go through this list of hires real quick for this coaching staff before we do the
I was
voicemails?
just going to say we should do that.
We should be texting.
It's like we've been doing this show for going on 6 years now. Look at us.
It is crazy. But anyway, okay, so Todd Monken so far, and this was my big thing too, was I wasn't thrilled with the hire at first, but I wanted to see what the staff was going to look like, and it does look it's positive. We're getting all these guys from Baltimore. We already talked about this, but what a successful offense they've been.
Yeah.
And it's not just one person, obviously, is the credit. So we got Travis Switzer, starting at the top here, was the Ravens run game coordinator, is now the OC. I think we're going to see a heavy focus on the run game. I think there's this solidifies for me, we are investing big time in offensive line in free agency. And I think you're going to see a big year from Quinshawn. Talked about with Angel Ortiz the other day how this is going to be a good free agent class for running backs. I wouldn't be surprised to see us swing maybe on somebody because Quinshawn might not be fully ready and all that kind of, I don't know, but I like what they're doing. So then the pass game coordinator, we get Danny Breyer, was the Ravens offensive assistant, worked a lot with the tight ends. So that's good for Harold Fannin. Then QB coach, they just announced today, was Mike Bajakian. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he was with Monken in Tampa Bay with Jameis Winston. And then offensive line coach, that was the first hire, was George Warhop. That was the Ravens offensive line coach.
That's a good hire.
Big, huge.
Yeah, then they hired, I don't know exactly what his role was with the Ravens. I think it's very similar to what he's going to be doing now, but he's the associate head coach is, I think, the title.
I read about it. He basically advised Harbaugh on fourth down analytics, and I saw a little video on him.
It was wasn't it like clock management, time management, when to call timeouts and things like that?
From what I saw, he advised him on to go for it or not to on fourth down, very analytical driven.
Yeah, I just have data and analysis. That's all I found on him.
One thing I think we should mention, a lot of Browns fans throw around the word analytics like it's a dirty swear word. They just want to get rid of it. We need football guys. John Harbaugh was one of the leading coaches in terms of using analytics. And if Todd Monken is anything like John Harbaugh, the analytics are not going away. Like he
learned that from Andy Reid, right? He learned that from Andy Reid, did he not?
He didn't learn it from me. I don't know. But
I think
I'm not sure. But I'm sure the Browns fans just throw it around like, yes. And so I know like a lot of Browns fans don't even like to hear the A word, but it's not going anywhere. If Todd Monken has learned anything from John Harbaugh and he's going to take anything from him, the analytics are going to be here and they're going to be prevalent.
It's not like sorry. Bro.
Go ahead.
It's not like he specialized in Paul DePodesta. That's all we need to do. That's a dirty word.
Like in-game analytics are fine, and I don't have a problem with a process in analytics telling you you're better off right here to go for two. But I also need a football mind to overrule that and say, no, we're getting our butts spanked by the Titans. We're trying to make a comeback here. I don't want to put the pressure to go for two on the next touchdown if we score. Let's just kick the freaking field goal. We got a rookie quarterback in his, fifth start or fourth start. That's the kind of stuff I think that pisses people off about analytics.
Well, we're not going to keep him in for the fourth down try anyway, brother. So what are we talking about, sir? What are we talking about here, sir? Sorry, go ahead.
You're good, man. That was it. That was the list. I mean, the last one is this offensive analyst. I have not seen what his role is, but he's also from the Ravens. Ian Colsty. But either way, bunch of Ravens.
Bring them all over. Bring them, those guys, like I said at the beginning. I'll take anybody that was on that Ravens staff.
Sure. Well, maybe not on the defensive side.
They were banged up a lot. But all right, let's get to these voicemails.
All right, so we got first voicemail here. This one is from Grant.
Hey, Dog Pack Nation, how we doing? I'm sure you've all heard the news already. Todd Monken is the head coach. Jim Schwartz wants out. Not surprised by it. Visibly, honestly, respectfully upset about the whole situation. I get the guy. My question is, has anybody talked to Myles Garrett or Denzel Ward or anybody on that defense? Because I'd imagine they're very, very upset with the whole situation. Yeah, Myles Garrett cannot be happy. Clown show. I guess this will stock up on the liquor now, boys. It might be a long season. Here we go. Woo, woo.
I did say one of my concerns when the hire was first announced, and it was like at least the apparent dysfunction of the search and stuff like that. And Miles posts this thing on Instagram, like looking tired, and it was like, is Monken already gonna be? Did he already lose the locker room before he even started? You know what I mean? I was worried about that, but to me, like, all I heard defensive players talking about this year was how we needed an offense. I don't understand how you could be mad at the team for going with a guy who's going to help turn the offense around. Like I just, you can't sit there and complain about the offense all the time and talk about not scoring points and that kind of thing. And you're on the field all the time. And then when the team goes out and hires an offensive coach and tries to get the offense turned around, you're going to complain. I mean, what do you want?
Somebody posted in Discord earlier, and it was Denzel Ward interview, and I didn't get to watch all of it, but did you see what he said? He just said, we're just excited the offense we want the offense to be better, basically.
Yeah. I saw that too.
That's it. Yeah.
I think they'd have to be, again, not happy with some of the dysfunction, and, they don't want to lose their guy, but the points on the board makes them not have to feel so much pressure in the game to not screw up. So it'll be better overall for them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the defensive guys, I understand being upset because you like Jim Schwartz as a coach, and if he's gone, you'll be disappointed in that kind of stuff. But your identity is you. Like Denzel Ward, you're not Denzel Ward because of Jim Schwartz. You're Denzel Ward because of Denzel Ward. Myles Garrett, you guys, you're going to go out there and play. You got to have pride, right, in your work. Go out there. I think they're going to be okay. I can understand initially being upset, especially the way the reports came out. Jim Schwartz is telling coaches, I'm gone, I'm not coming back, clean out his office, he's whatever, throwing a fit. The optics of the way it was all reported they weren't good.
What I had in my mind when he gave his, or whatever he did to get leave, was like the draft movie where, the quarterback finds out that he's not, or they're going to draft another quarterback, and he just trashes the GM's office. That's what I had in my mind. And then somebody dropping the playbook, just burning it on fire, No, I kind of just saying that in jest, but your mind goes crazy when you hear this stuff too, right? So.
All right. You want to do the next one here?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same kind of stuff. This one's from Kurt.
Hey guys, Kurt from Jersey. Newly joined the Dogs on Patreon and Discord. Happy to
welcome.
The show. You guys, I love your show. But can we make a list of all the mishandlings this ownership has had since the Haslams took over? Because I think this season is on pace to be the worst. It's going to top the Kitchen season. It's going to top the Hugh Jackson season. It's going to be a disaster. Because instantly, when we hire Monken, we lost half the locker room. The defense is totally on Schwartz's side, and why even interview him? Why even interview him for head coach when you want to keep him as defensive coordinator? You got all these candidates coming in, and you want to keep him. You want to make a stipulation that you keep Schwartz as the defensive coordinator when you're interviewing him, so you're not even committed to keeping him as a defensive coordinator, and you wave this carrot in front of his face that he could be the head coach. What do you think is going to happen? It's so ridiculous. It's so amateur. You're an NFL team. What do you don't ask the guy hey, what if we don't go with you? It's frustrating, but go Browns.
He is Kurt. Welcome to the dog pack, buddy.
Kurt from Jersey sounds like Justin from Ohio. It's weird. Just pissed.
This is one of those things where I feel like that was the general reaction of 99% of Browns fans after it was announced.
100%.
I will say this: the Browns are kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't when it came to Jim Schwartz, because obviously they don't want to lose him. So, but you can't not interview him for the head coaching job, because that's going to just make him just as mad. You know what I mean? Wait, you mean to tell me you're not going to give me an opportunity for the promotion to be here? So I feel like they had to interview him, because if they were like, no, you're not going to get an interview, then he's definitely going to say, okay, well then, you know what I mean? He's going to do the same thing if you don't give him if he's not even given the opportunity to interview for the job. And then if you interview, the only way he was going to be here is if he was the head coach. And let's be honest, that's kind of the way it goes around the NFL. If you're a coordinator and the head coach gets fired, most of the time you're gone. And very rarely do you then get promoted to head coach. You know what I mean? So I don't think it should have been surprising unless they were really telling him in interviews, made him really, really feel like it was going to be him, and then pulled the rug out from under his feet. But I do see it from the Browns' perspective in terms of if they don't interview him, he's just going to be ticked and walk. And if they do interview him and don't give him the job, that's where we are now. He's just going to be ticked and walk. Like there's outside of giving him the head coaching job, there's nothing they could really do. At least that's the way I would look at it.
I heard that guy's frustration, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's not just the Browns. Like I've been part of tons of interviews, or I've been part of the interview process, and I know that the person that works for us wants to be the next person up, and I know we're not going to retain them if they don't get it, and that's life.
Yep.
There's a comment here. It says, people, what Monken did in his first year with Lamar and average wide receivers and without Derrick Henry. If you if you remember, we talked about when he left Cleveland with Freddie, and then when he went to the Ravens after his stint in Tampa Bay, and we kind of were kind of making fun of them. Like, you guys hired Todd Monken. He's terrible. How's that going to work with Lamar? He can't throw. And Todd Monken's an air raid kind of offensive coordinator. And then he won an MVP and had his best seasons with him.
Yeah.
I think that kind of tells you how it's not just this is my system. And that's another thing I think fans will appreciate.
Yep.
A lot of people didn't like that Kevin was kind of rigid in his system. This is what we run. This is what we're going to do. Todd Monken, it's not Todd Monken's system. These are Todd Monken's players. What system do we put them in for them to be successful? So I think people will appreciate that. I did not think Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson were going to be a good fit. At that time when he got hired in Baltimore, Lamar was not a great pocket passer. He was definitely more of a threat to run. They didn't have great wide receivers. They didn't have Derrick Henry. I think they had Gus Edwards, or some combination of great
Kenton
Gus Edwards.
Mitchell and
him and Dobbins and Gus Edwards.
So,
Yep.
And their offense was from right away explosive. Yeah. Lamar all of a sudden looked like a completely different passer. So I do think that's a good point, and I think it's like if you're something to be excited about if you're a Browns fan.
He put out outrageous numbers in that MVP year. He threw for 32 touchdowns,
it was like
picks
40.
or something.
It was like
wild.
42. I think it was 42 touchdowns and 4 picks.
Yeah, it's four picks. It's outrageous. It's just,
and that could be huge, because what was the biggest gripe about Shedeur Sanders last year? Whether it was his fault or not, it was like, we just can't avoid the turnovers. It just keeps happening. We're like, can we just get a turnover-free game? Nope. Fumbles in the finale against the Bengals. So I think that we've already talked about it, but I'm excited to see how this looks with Shedeur Sanders, because I do think that he's got talent, and I want to see it, brought to the full potential. And Todd Monken could be that guy.
It says the Browns have had 2 1,000-yard receivers only once in franchise history, and it was 2019 when Monken was here. That was OBJ and Jarvis. And OBJ was banged up a lot that year. He was not.
Didn't even play
healthy.
yeah.
So no, I do think it's kind of under the radar. I think it could work out. It's going to be all predicated on Andrew Berry's ability to add talent.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can we add talent?
All right, let's see. Next voicemail is from Philip.
Hey guys, Philip here from Dubai. Yeah, Todd Monken is for sure not a sexy pick. Absolutely not. And I think we all got kind of enamored and excited about these young coaches. And I was also in my mind thinking, what if McDaniels comes? That was my favorite. But then on the other hand, they can only do with what they got, especially the younger coaches. And I think the more experienced ones, maybe they can, share some wisdom. And maybe he can get Shedeur on board. There is this rumor or this thing that apparently he was a fan of Shedeur and the Ravens wanted to draft him as well. And so that's one thing. Another thing is we were going to give Shedeur a chance anyway, so there's nothing changing there really. We needed to beef up the offense. That's going to happen as well. So nothing changed here anyways. So I don't see really any big change. And while I was at first a bit disappointed and I felt let down, I was like, oh, come on, let's get someone else in here. But maybe in the end, a more senior person is what this team needs, and he can rally everybody behind him. And then, we may see some magic here. It's our job as Brown fans to stay optimistic. That's what I'm going to do. And maybe this is all we get more credibility. This whole thing calms down, and the stigma of being dysfunctional maybe, gets a bit, diminished or something like this. I don't know. Go Browns. Woof, woof.
Yo, shout out Philip in Dubai. Hey, bro, next UFC card, I'm flying out, dude. I'll be your brother for a day.
I was just talking to the wife like last week, like, man, I want to go to Dubai.
Me
and
too,
then
bro.
I said, what's the currency exchange rate? Their money's worth a lot more than ours.
Yeah,
I can't afford to go there.
It's rich. It's rich.
Yes, I can't. I can go there and be like a shoe cleaner for somebody. I'll just like be polishing their shoes or something.
I got your back, man.
I saw something on here. It says, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm happy we can help you with that. That's like the more we talk, the more like, man, here we go.
Yeah.
I do think too, a big thing that'll help, at least on paper, the schedule's a lot easier. I'm pretty sure at least right now on paper, we have the easiest schedule in the league, as opposed to on paper coming into last season, it was the hardest schedule in the league. So
I think that was 2 years in a row for us too.
So I do think like the if we can add offensive talent, we get the offensive coach in here. I do think there's a chance at maybe winning more games than we thought. Again, it's all predicated on if we can get something out of Shedeur and if we add talent to to the offensive side of the ball. Because I don't care how good Todd Monken is, as it stands right now, we're not going to win football games. We have to add this offense. I know I've said we need 10 new starters. We have bare minimum probably at least 7 to be competitive.
I would say the entire offensive line,
Bro,
you know,
I was saying I can't wait for week 2 and we're on our 3rd string and I'm just like, yep. It's 3 years in a row. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Well, actually, I was about to make a point, but I want to play this voicemail. Last one. This is from Claude. He asked a question that will lead into what I was about to say. So here we go with that.
Hey, gang. Claude from Erio. So, Monken, eh? A couple of weeks ago, called in.
Hey, bud.
Josh, and you told me to temper my optimism because of how stoked I was. It's tempered, but I am a glass half full kind of guy. Always will be. And so I'm going to try and sprinkle some optimism here. This is all observation and opinion, but here we go. So Todd Monken, he was part of the Ravens last year, right? Ravens wanted to draft Shedeur. And so my assumption is that Monken went in with a plan for Shedeur and the Browns must have really liked it. That's that, I'm guessing. We also have to remember Shedeur has a subculture of fans that are just Shedeur fans. So the Browns are going to keep him because those fans are going to buy seats. That's just the reality of it. So yeah. In terms of like the draft and our wide receivers, we got a decent pick. Hopefully get a wide receiver, Tater Lemon. And then we also have Bond. Bond wasn't able to even really do much off the field or on the field this year because he didn't really get to practice. So I think he'll be able to get to develop. And just what do you think of any free agents? Who would you want, and who do you think we can actually get? Dog pound? Woof, woof.
Okay, and that leads into what I was going to say. Kenny, did you want to shout out Claude real quick?
Yeah, I'll shout out Claude. Claude, dude, Erie, brother, I'm from Erie Beach, man. We're 5 minutes apart by car. I grew up. I went to Blenheim District. You probably went there too. And it's good hearing you on this, buddy. There's another guy in from Toronto. He's calling. I'm a Browns, Raptors, Jays guy too. Guys, keep on calling from the Great White North, baby. Hoo hoo.
Hey, except for if you're going to call on the show, I don't want to hear about centimeters. Okay,
you're going to hear centimeters and Celsius, my man.
Kenny's always texting us.
Me. I'm like, I don't know how cold that is.
Kenny's always texting us saying how many centimeters of snow they got, and I'm like, get out of here with the centimeters.
I don't know how much that is.
We talk inches down here.
Oh my gosh! But
I gotta see Claude next time I go back home. I'm getting down to Erio in July, brother, and we'll hook up.
So to go to his point though, real quick, what I wanted to mention, we were talking about how we need all these new players, we need an all new offensive line, and then he said, any free agents? Well, all of a sudden, I think the pie in the sky is like Tyler Linderbaum, right?
Yeah,
the center from Baltimore is going to be a free agent. Is there any way the Browns could possibly get him, throw enough money at him, he would come here? And then John Harbaugh signs with New York. It's like, he'll probably go there. Todd Monken, the offensive line coach, the running game coordinator, all came to Cleveland. Now, all of a sudden, I like our prospects of landing a guy like Tyler Linderbaum. And if the Todd Monken hire helps us land that type of player to kick off free agency, to reset this offensive line, all right, I'm really going to drink that Kool-Aid.
You know what? Well, I think we can get about $95 to $100 million of cap room. You know, just based on the way that
ton.
If
Or
the
going
cap
to.
went up a ton, we're rolling over 20 mil. And then if you take Deshaun, Miles, and Denzel, you restructure them. You're at 80 there, I think. Or
I thought I saw they could
along
be
that
like
lines.
around 118, 120 in
Yeah.
cap space.
Wow.
Like, okay,
That's
we can do some
crazy.
work.
I don't understand. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
That's where I will
It's
give
wild.
Andrew Barry flowers right
Yeah.
there. Because he understands the cap better than I think a lot of other GMs. And he handles the problem with him is he structures his contracts well and it works for the team. But the players that he does it with don't.
That's fair.
Typically. That's the
fair.
problem.
If it works out, then great.
Yeah.
I mean,
I saw
for
a
me,
comment in here. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say he was asking for free agents. For me, both guards from the Panthers they're up. You could get them. And if you get Tyler Linderbaum, draft 2 tackles. Bob's your uncle, man.
Yep.
I'm just worried about the offensive line.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
I have a comment here that says Bond is going to have a breakout season under Monken. I do think like that's a match made in heaven. He just, you know what I mean? I don't know. Is he as twitchy as a Zay Flowers? I don't know, but like kind of gives those vibes, like a quick guy. And Zay Flowers excelled with Todd Monken. Talking about free agents and players, obviously we've all been huge. We got a couple more minutes so we can talk about this. We've all been talking about Cardinal Tate no matter what at 6 or, at least one of these like big 3 wide receivers. Is there anybody else who's starting to think lineman instead of receiver? Or are you guys all still dead set at receiver?
I'm still set on receiver just because I like the offensive linemen that at least right now are projected to be available later in the first round than I do the receivers.
So I would say I think, Blake, you're turning over and I'm turning over. If you take a look at the actual dollar value, the receiver is the better option to go if they really hit. If you don't hit on Tate, it's tough. And if you take an offensive lineman, it's just more of a sure pick for a slightly less money and it's better overall value. And based on what you can get from the University of Miami right now, I'd be all over that guy and dropping down for my second pick as at receiver. And I think you can get Denzel Boston or somebody down there that you could turn into something based on having Judy and Bond. I just think our offensive line is so depleted. If you can get a Mauler and someone who's decent in pass protection, I think that goes a long way for this run game coordinator that's, been promoted up to our OC right now, and we can run that damn ball.
I want the shiny toys, so I would prefer a wide receiver. But man, when I think about football, it all starts up front. I mean, look at Ohio State, for example. Like Ohio State always has the best receivers and usually like the best running backs. And anytime we lose, it's because we're not good in the trenches, offensive line and defensive line. You look at like any of these teams left in the playoffs, their offensive line are maulers. They're just physical, just pound. So it all depends on what we do in free agency. And I do think like Josh, like what you're saying, where you can get certain players matter. If you think you can get a guy who's just barely a step below at the tackle position in the second round is compared to what you'd get at 6, but then like the drop off from who you would get at receivers, a huge, a full letter grade lower, then take the receiver. So I think you got to weigh that kind of stuff. But I just think like we can add 5 Jamar Chases to this team. And if we have the same offensive line, we're not going to be any good.
Dude, look at what the offensive line did in the Senior Bowl. Did you guys watch Senior Bowl yesterday?
Yeah.
That starting offensive line, draft every single one of those guys, put them on the Browns.
That's one.
They
of
were
the
getting
guys.
like the line itself was getting 5 yards down the field, then the running back, and they did a fantastic job. Not taking anything away from the running backs, but they were almost getting like 10 yards of crack. It was unreal.
Yeah, the guy I love in the draft is Jennings Dunker, the offensive lineman out of Iowa. The long red hair, the mullet, the mustache.
He's abused.
Just
pasta and 3 cheeseburgers.
You don't get him at 6. You get him later. You know what I'm saying? So that's where, but you don't get Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon later.
So what I will say about the receiver and we can get into this down the road too, is at 6.
Oh, yeah.
How many more times are we going to say, hey, let's take a chance on a 3rd round or a 2nd round wide receiver and, like it'll all work out. And then it never does. No. Like for me, if they take a shot at Lemon, Tate, or Tyson, I'm cool with it. Because right now we have receivers that can't get separation anyway. Obviously, if you can't hold the line and you're getting blown up for, run game doesn't work because the offensive line stinks, you can't get any kind of coverage or, you can't protect the quarterback. It is what it is. Go get a weapon. Go get some weapons, please.
The only way I'll be mad, because if they go offensive lineman at 6, I'll be happy. Receiver, great. If they go defense, I will be pissed.
Off tackle linebacker.
It's unbelievable how
draft.
It's unbelievable how many people I see in our comments saying Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs.
I love Caleb Downs. One, you don't draft a safety in the top 10, okay? And you don't draft a safety in the top 10 when you're coming off back-to-back 2 of the most historically bad offenses in NFL history. No, what are we talking about? I don't know if it's just Ohio State homerism or what. Like a safety in the top 10 when we averaged 8.5 points a game. Like, obviously, I'm not even that far off.
Not really.
Just double it. 16 points a game, man.
You can't. The way this draft worked, I didn't think we should have drafted any defensive players this last draft.
Correct.
But it worked out. Honestly, it probably saved Andrew Berry's job. It worked out. But this one, I don't think you can draft a defensive. If we take a corner like 4th, 5th round, I'm okay because you can never have enough DBs. But these first 4 or 5 picks have to be offense. And a majority of your money in free agency has to be offense. You need 7 to 8 starters on the offensive side of the ball.
And could we not just waste another mid-round pick on a quarterback?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Stop doing that.
I'm cool with that, bro.
Would you,
especially when we're full?
How early is too early? I'm going to draft Drew Aller.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew you were going to say Drew Aller.
And listen, there's nobody on this show, I don't think, who's been a bigger Drew Aller hater than me when he was in college. How early is too early to take him?
Before the 5th.
I'm not putting anything towards quarterback.
That's where I'm at.
You put like 4 assets towards quarterback last year. Let's actually have the ability to develop one by putting line receivers,
yes.
Another tight end. I know Ashley Joker doesn't want to hear that, but we're probably going to play some 13 personnel.
I think if we took Aller in like anything like you said after the 5th.
Oh, I'd be okay with that.
Or in the 5th. But I would, especially we just hired an offensive coach. Obviously, I hope Shador's the guy. And we all think he has talent. But Drew Aller's, 6'6", mobile, rocket arm. Like he's a prototypical NFL quarterback who is extremely high ranked coming into college and then got forced to play for James Franklin in the awful Penn State offensive scheme who's never developed anybody on the offensive side of the ball in 20 years. So could he be a reclamation project you draft late? And I'm not saying I want them to. I'm just saying, like Kenny, I don't want to waste picks on a quarterback. If they took a flyer on him way, way late, I would probably be okay with it.
Yeah, you always want to be developing, right? Like you should always be doing that and making it move towards other assets down the road. That's how you acquire talent.
Do we really want to be talking about 4 quarterback room training camp and all that again, Blake? That's all I'm going to say. I'll present it to you like that.
Well, we did have two Pro Bowlers, right?
That's fair.
But here's the thing. Supposedly one of the quarterbacks was Kevin's guy, and Kevin's not here. There's potentially no allegiance to Dylan Gabriel.
Sure. That's what
if they drafted Drew Aller late in the 6th round, there's no guarantee Dylan Gabriel could be cut. He's a 3rd round pick.
That's fair.
No. We are going to draft Drew Aller with. We're going to draft Drew Aller with whatever pick Andrew Berry gets for Dylan Gabriel with Atlanta.
There you go.
Hey, book it.
And I'm seeing a lot in here. Drew Aller's awful. Trust me, guys.
I was gonna say I'm surprised you brought him up, bro.
If you're in the Discord or if you were in some of our texts, I have no affinity, but I'm just looking at his size and his attributes and all that stuff. Could you take a flyer on a guy like that very, very late? Now that you have a guy who's supposedly this offensive, can adapt his system to any kind of player, I'd at least listen to it way, 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 way late, that kind of thing. So it's just a name I brought up. I'm not, Nussmeier, and any one of these guys, something like that, but nothing before the 5th round, please.
Get Taylor Green. Lineman. He's got some attributes, man.
Oh, he looked awful in the senior.
Oh, I'm not saying he looked good. I said he's got attributes. That's all I said.
And no Simpson.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to talk about Ty Simpson, I think, because as much as, and we don't have time now, but as much as we don't want to admit it, he's going to be in discussions at 24. Not saying he needs to be or should be, but it's going to happen, at least around the media.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. We appreciate everybody who's been here. It's exciting now that the Browns have a new head coach. Putting together a staff, we can finally start to turn the page on this. I like that I was basically able to do a whole episode without mentioning Kevin Stefanski because
you messed it up. There you go. Nope, you're done.
I made it most of the way. I'm all in on the new coaching staff. I'm very excited to see what we do. I've talked myself into being excited to see what Todd Monken does with the team. I'm excited to talk about free agency and the draft and see who we add to this to make it a worthwhile season. See if we can take advantage of what is supposed to be an easier schedule. So we appreciate you guys being here, hanging out with us, sticking it out with us through 24 days of a long coaching search to help get us here. And we'll see you guys later this week.
Go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is partnered with Kalshi. Browns fans, are you ready to put your money where your predictions are? With Kalshi, America's #1 regulated prediction market, you can legally trade on events that actually matter to you. And the best part is you don't need to predict specific stat lines and compile a 7-leg parlay just to win big. With Kalshi, the objective is either yes or no. Will Shedeur Sanders be the Browns' Week 1 starting quarterback? Will the Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl? Will Fernando Mendoza be the first overall pick in the NFL draft? And in other sports, will the Cavs make the NBA playoffs? You can put your money on these predictions and more with Kalshi. If you want to try it out, Kalshi is giving $10 to anyone who signs up at kalshi.com/dogs and trades $100. Get away from disadvantageous sports books and dive into real-world outcomes with real-time odds and real payouts. Head over to Kalshi, KALSHI.com/dogs, DAWGS, or just click the link in the description to get $10 when you trade $100 with Kalshi. Because why shouldn't you get paid for being right?